I said it when Kobe came to my pro-am. To me, he was this generation's Michael Jordan. Kobe was the best player I ever played against, like, period. And so it was like he put that fear in you, in your arena, in everything, just like MJ did. And so they were like kindred spirits. And it was no doubt that they would be that close because they're two of a kind. You know, they're one of a kind, but they're two of a kind. So people that didn't get to play against Michael, they played against Michael through Kobe.
Jamal Crawford there. We're back with another preview of the latest episode of the Legends of Sport podcast, and it's hosted by Andy Bernstein, the Hall of Fame official photographer for the Lakers, Clippers, and Staples Center. And like you just saw there, the latest episode gives you a closer look into the career of former Clippers and NBA veteran Jamal Crawford. By the way, go blue. He spent a year at Michigan. And joining me now is Hall of Fame photographer himself, Andy Bernstein. Andy, great having you on. I'm sure it was a great talk there with Jay Crossover, if you know him on Twitter and throughout the social media world. Jay Crossover, one of the best handles there. But tell me more about that. I mean, talking about the fact that he got to play against Michael Jordan, got to play against Kobe Bryant. He was one of those guys who really was up for the challenge. But he's also one of those guys who uses his platform for the greater good, especially back home in the Seattle area. Tell me more about Jamal.
Well, I got to tell you, Kelvin, one of my favorite guys. I've met a lot of guys in my 40 years, but Jay Crossover, Jamal Crawford, one of the truly most genuine, terrific people in my business. Always comes over to say hi. You know, it was very, very personable. Guy played for 9 teams. Says that playing for the Clippers was his favorite time in his career, and he gives so much back to his community in Seattle. He has the Crossover League, which is one of the top 3 pro-ams in the country, quite frankly. And Kobe tells a great story in the podcast about how Kobe came out to the Pro-Am and how, you know, Kobe changed his plans just to be there, you know, for Jamal. And it speaks volumes as to the character that Jamal has, because just an incredible guy and an incredible talent.
And he came out, I just mentioned, he spent 1 year at Michigan. So he came out relatively young compared to, you know, the early 90s and the 80s where guys were playing 3-4 years. The league is a lot younger now. You just look around, you're like, I don't even know these people. Wasn't he just in college, 6 months ago? And what did Jamal say about that? And then the importance of being a veteran. He was once a young guy, turned to a veteran. What does he say about that?
Well, a few things impressed me about Jamal. The fact that he was a starter at the beginning and towards the middle of his career, then very, very seamlessly moved to a bench player. He's a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year winner. I mean, only 2 people have done that. Actually, both of them played for the Clippers. Lou Williams, currently with the Clippers, is the other one. And Jamal, he can still play. The guy, 20 years in the league, he's still young, but Jamal feels that in the pandemic world that we're living in, the fact that the COVID restrictions that the NBA is under, that perhaps there should be a pool of players like himself, veterans that could contribute to a team, as well as maybe some G League players that the teams can draw from, so they don't have to have game cancellations, so they can have, quality players, even if they're just on the bench, just to fulfill the minimums. And, quite frankly, I agree with that, because he could help a team come in, hit a 3, play some D, whatever. But, guys like Jamal, they're sitting out there, they're ready to play, and I think they deserve a chance.
I agree with everything you said, except play some defense. Look, I love Jamal, but that was never his thing, Andy. Let's not get carried away, Andy, okay? Let me ask you this, and I do believe he could play right now for sure. There's a team, even the Lakers, any team, he could give about 10, 12 minutes to hit a couple of buckets. But let me ask you this. Did he touch on the fact that maybe that Clippers team, the Lob City, they underachieved? Every year for about the 3-year run, they were the sexy pick, along with maybe another team or two to win the NBA championship or at least get to the NBA finals, and they never did. Did he talk about that at all?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it. And, that was, I don't know if you want to call it snake bit or Clippers curse or whatever you want to call it, but they came so close. I mean, that year that Blake got hurt, and then Chris Paul had that crazy reach in broken hand thing that I've never seen in my career that happened before. It was just, unfortunately, a perfect storm against them. I think they could have gone to the finals and possibly won it that year. That would have been unbelievable to see a banner go up at Staples Center. So, Jamal has has yet to proven that he's a champion. But, you know, to me, he's a champion because he's proven it over and over and over again, the quality of person he is and the longevity that he's had.
You're right. So many people speak highly of him. I ran into him back in my old Ann Arbor, Michigan days a couple times. He was great. He was a kid then. We both were. But all accounts, still a great guy. We got 1 minute left here, Andy. Let me ask you this. Jamal switched it up and he asked you about your favorite photo. You mentioned something about Michael Jordan and holding up a trophy. So we're going to show it. Tell us a little bit about this pic.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one picture to be remembered for in my career, it would have to be this one, you know, the 91 championship, MJ's first of 6, but, you know, we didn't know how many he was going to win after that. Took him 7 years to get to the promised land and finally win the NBA championship. And this was just a moment in time. It happened at the Forum against the Lakers, visitors' locker room. There he was, just hugging the trophy, crying his eyes out. His dad is there next to him, and so many backstories. But the thing that I'm most proud of is that a couple of years after his dad passed away, I got a call from Michael's office that Michael would appreciate a print to hang in his office, and that just meant volumes to me about how important that photo was to him.
You know what? I was looking at 2 GOATs, MJ and you, because I'm telling you, man, that photo there and some other ones we've already talked about, you and I mean, you have some iconic photos. You capture some major moments, brother, and well respected. Look at that, man. I mean, we all see that. Andy Bernstein, thanks for having you on, man, and make sure you check out the podcast, and he will be back with us soon.
Thanks, Kelvin. Good to see you, man.